Blizzard got it wrong, and they've just proven that they know it. So game director Ian Hazzikostas opened up to the press on the state of patch 11.1.5. And there's a lot we could say here immediately, but I'll just say this. As my favorite television show would say, all of this has happened before, all of this will happen again. I'm very aware of the cycles that take place in Warcraft, and indeed the cycles on this channel, so we're going to talk about this quite fully, but enough preamble. Let's get to the interview. Here's something that's came in clutch. So I'm traveling to America for the opening day of Epic Universe soon, and I'll be bringing my sponsor, NordVPN, with me. And the reason why is simple. It's because, well, I'll save heaps of money. So here's how. Airline, car rental, and loads of other things that you book when you're traveling have got dynamic pricing that's based on where you're located. So what you can do is clear your browser cookies, fire up Nord, and change location. And when you do that, you often find lower prices. And if you go to nordvpn.com/Bellular Warcraft, you'll get 4 months for free on a 2-year plan, and that's backed by their 30-day money-back guarantee. They've actually saved me much more than they cost, and that's like only with one use. But of course, there's more than that. You can browse the web as if you're anywhere using Nord. That means bypassing, region-locked content. And with Nord, you're actually getting more security. Things like Threat Protection Pro, which unlike other basic DNS filtering solutions, covers far more threats. As things like, malware, phishing, scams, and other threats as well. And I get that all seems very technical, but the good news is it's extremely easy to use. You just use their desktop and mobile app. It's extremely simple. And best of all, you'll get 4 months for free with a 2-year plan at nordvpn.com/Bellular Warcraft. A big thanks to them for years of their support. And let's go. Okay, so the credit here goes to PC Gamer and Heather Newman, who did the interview. Her patch 11.1.5 report was titled, "World of Warcraft's latest patch is a bug extravaganza, the likes of which I haven't seen in my 21 years playing WoW." Pretty strong headline. Her new article then links Taliesin's Blizzard blew it, and my World of Warcraft development is clearly broken. So those two videos, it's all kind of spicy stuff, and this is what she brought to Ian. And when she did, he said this. Quote, "The issues with Nightfall getting stuck and bugging out for players in the first couple of days, that's something we need to improve on. We fixed it as soon as we could, but understandably, that's not the experience that we're hoping for anyone to have. It's not the experience our players are expecting or deserve when they log in on patch day and they're excited to check out the new thing." Okay. That is a nice sentiment from Ian, but we're, I think, soon going to see that for Ian, this is really a near impossible situation. As an example, he said this, "Not the experience we're hoping to deliver." Of course, by now, it sure does feel like they're running on hope. Patch 11.05, 11.07, 11.1, and 11.1.5 all launched with substantial technical and design problems, many of which were caught on the public test realm. Now, I don't say hope to tone or to word police Ian. After all, this is just him talking to a journalist. It's not him issuing a carefully considered, perfectly written statement. However, if Ian was to say, "experience we plan to deliver," instead of hope, I think it would have brought the real problem into focus here, because any plan that they've had has failed back to back to back. Maybe hope is the only thing that's remaining, and that's my real point here. The word hope makes us empathize with those on the ground delivering the game, and I really do, because the reality, in my opinion here, is that with their current constraints, Ian Hazzikostas and his team cannot fix this problem. That truly is what I think. Heather pressed him on the bugs, and I think his responses tell us a lot about how development is going. We are committed to quality, and we know that quantity doesn't matter if the stuff isn't functional, and if the game isn't predictable and reliable, and doesn't feel like a polished experience. Those are Ian's words, and honestly, they're kind of painful. I wonder what the word commitment actually means here, because that stuff has not happened multiple patches in a row. Now, being fair, WoW is reliably unpredictable and predictably unreliable, so I suppose he's right in a way. Now, as for part of why, Ian says hotfixes can be a little bit of an issue. Things can break, they can be fixed, but in this case, many things were hotfixed in late 11.1. By then, 11.1.5 was locked in, and the systems they have to propagate changes can, well, be useful, but also cut both ways. I suppose I could TLDR by just saying merge conflicts and chaos in a very complex codebase. Maybe it's the type of thing they can't easily test. Ian did note they work closely with QA. He talked about how they track their escape rate of bugs and how they want that to be in the low single digits. The escape rate's basically just the percentage of known stuff that ends up making it to live. And he did say, "We want to do better every time compared to how we did in the last." And I absolutely believe him. I think he does want, I think they all want that. But I think by now it's coming clear that desire and hope are actually irrelevant here. Worse than irrelevant, they can be dangerous. Basically, it appears to be a technical problem, a software problem. Engineering is hard. Engineering on a massively complex live game is far harder. Doing that when you have a live build that is consistently being hotfixed, a PTR build of your next patch, an internal PTR of the patch after that, and then all of the different development environments that, your team are actually using to make the game, well, that is extremely hard. And I'm not saying that to minimize the problem you are facing that's pissing people off. I'm saying this to clarify the problem. You see, I titled that last video, World of Warcraft development is clearly broken. I didn't title it, These Damn Lazy Devs Don't Give a Shit. And I did that for a reason. But I think there is a challenging human angle here that's unfortunate, and it's going to be hard for Blizzard to deal with. And it's this: the Emperor has no clothes. Keep that in mind for this quote, which I'll now read out. If there's ever an update where we know there are serious issues, we're not going to push it out just because we've set this 8-week target. Quote, we're never consciously compromising quality. Now, the thing is, general audiences will kind of just stop listening. They won't really get the detail of every word. People can only hear, we never consciously compromise quality, whilst they continually see compromised quality for so long until they simply stop believing that you don't consciously do it, or maybe they start to believe that you're actually lying when you say that. I'm not accusing Ian of lying here, far from it. I don't think they're consciously shipping a completely broken experience, but they are shipping a broken experience. And even if Blizzard thinks these PR problems are unfair, the reality is, it's their problem, and they're going to have to deal with it because it will impact them. Credibility is an asset, and damage to it hits absolutely everything, even unconnected and absurdly exciting things, like, say, player housing. So the point basically is, when we get statements like this, but people have got a track record of bad quality, they will stop believing. So here's what I'll do in this video. Look, I am taking Ian in good faith here, and I'm not doing that because I think it's some olive branch to extend. No, I genuinely think he is saying what he means. I don't think they compromise quality consciously. So if they don't, then what happens? Well, they're unconsciously compromising quality. That is what's happening. It's clear to me that these quality hits are what we call a negative externality of other decisions. The prime one, of course, being the 8-week patch cycle. And it's Ian's response to that that has me hoping that his hope is well placed, but very much doubting that it will work. That does worry me. And here's what he said. Quote, rather than say, we're going to slow down and serve our players less, we'd rather ask, how can we polish this further? How can we tighten our processes so things don't slip through the cracks and we are getting content into players' hands at the rate they deserve? He also said, quote, we're going to listen, we're going to learn, and we'll try to do better next time, both in delivering the content and setting expectations around how it's going to be paced. See what I mean, right? Like, if the system is broken, it's not really about slightly improving a catch rate of bugs. It's not about polishing when the thing you're polishing is nowhere near the stage of needing polished, because it's still not working yet. Now, one thing I love about Ian, and I think is a commonality between the two of us, is he's also got a head for stats. So because of that, I'll frame it in this way. I think you are stuck in a local maximum. You being the WoW dev team, and I worry that the wrong things are going to be optimized. And because you're in a local maximum, you can't see out of that to the wider picture. So are you trying to fix a problem that you should instead be avoiding entirely by implementing your solutions on the operational or the strategic level? That's what I'm thinking. And his words give me a sense of deep urgency. I mean, let's just go back to them. He said, rather than slow down and serve our players less. You see, we're at the stage where releasing this content, where there's a high chance it will fail, is serving players less. Your customers would literally be better off playing another game. And what I'm here to say is it's worth you taking that L, because if you ask people to allocate time to you and then ship a bad experience, you are not serving them. I think Blizzard has a scarcity mindset where they think they need to ship. If they had an abundance mindset, they might think a little bit differently. Look, your customers will be just fine. And the thing is, your problem is actually making their opportunity cost in going to you worth it. And unfortunately, there is a deeper problem here, because it's not just bugs. And when we talk about is somebody's opportunity cost of deciding to resub to WoW and play WoW instead of another game worth it, it goes beyond the bugs. It goes to the game itself. The Nightfall event does not work well for realistic group sizes. It doesn't feel like a well battle-tested, iterated-on design. I mean, when players hear the inspiring dialogue before the final stage, does that ring true? Here's a message that I got from Jared. He's one of the guys in our team. He leads lore. That stuff really pumps him up. Here's the quote. I might have set myself up for failure when I assumed it would be something like the Argent Vanguard back in Wrath of the Lich King, pushing back waves of Nerubians until you could force a beachhead. Basically, what he was shooting for was a Warcraft experience, and I don't think it should be his fault for expecting something to be epic. Epic is basically what Warcraft should be. And that's the thing. Nightfall, like so many other features, feels like they accepted a pitch and then made that pitch. I don't get the sense that they've been able to prototype different ideas to find the fun. And with an 8-week patch cycle, I don't expect them to be able to do that. And that's the essence of the problem, but there is a final thing to add. Something that's hit me personally as well. It is the idea of spinning plates. So, WoW's minor patches tick lots of different boxes, right? They're trying to give non-seasonal players something to do, almost regardless of the intrinsic value of the thing that Blizzard are shipping. Even if that means that WoW has now got so many ways of you getting catch-up gear for an alt that it's actually confusing, which obviously doesn't serve that player well. And that's partially because there's literally so many, and it's partially because half of them are redundant. You have so much catch-up that your catch-up is fighting with your catch-up. That's insane. Bad signal to noise ratio murders all but the most hardcore. But here's the thing. WoW is basically great right now. They don't need to do this. And if they want, they can still have their 8-week cadence. I think what they need, though, is less features, but perhaps larger, such that each has got more time in the oven. Rather than try to spin every single plate, how about whenever you have a new patch, you say who it's for and try to make sure that thing is good. Instead of serving demand with scraps, how about you try creating demand through game design? That's what good game design and storytelling does. And while the crazy amount of bugs are certainly the most urgent feeling thing right now, I do not think they are the most important thing. Design is the most important thing, and their design misses are what concern me more and more, especially in these minor patches. I want to be understanding here. Things do happen for a reason, and this whole 8-week thing also happened for a reason. You see, Blizzard needed to prove that they could ship content. We all spoke very highly of Legion and its 77-day cycle. Shadowlands had many failings, and one of them was content cadence. Those patches were slow, they were spread out, it was not a good time. With Dragonflight, Blizzard wanted to prove that they could ship. And Blizzard, you have proven that. And that's got you to where you are now. But to get you to the next level, you're going to need to focus on quality. Now, none of this is easy, of course, and they absolutely know that more than me. Software is hard, games are extremely hard, and giving criticism is really easy. Seriously, it's easy to give criticism, it's far harder to do the thing. And so often I think what happens is short-term pressures make us prioritize what's expedient instead of what is meaningful. So we could try to ship a new catch-up system, a new bit of, I'm just going to say, slop content to tick a box. We could try to think about all of the bugs that are happening because of this fire hose of content. But if we miss the bigger picture, we end up in a local maximum. We end up having blinkered strategy, right? We end up where we are, lost in the sauce. And that means if you want to get new players in, it's next to impossible. I think Ian's own words actually do kind of prove that's happening. Now, the thing is, when we go through these situations as game directors, as team leads, as rank and file people on a team, we always tell ourselves that we can push through with grit and resilience. Grit is good, resilience is good, and man, to last on the Warcraft team at the top for so long, there's a lot of grit and resilience, and those are good, respectable things. But, like all strengths, they can betray you if you are not careful. Examining my life, that's certainly been the case, and to spice it up with a little bit of an analogy and a history lesson, take Pyrrhus of Epirus. He had grit. He was determined. He won many battles against the Romans, but there's a reason why the term Pyrrhic victory is now, part of our vocabulary, because it's a victory at too high a cost that means you lose the war. Basically, this is all the reason why we talk about winning the battle but losing the war. I think Blizzard is trying to win battle after battle after battle, but they're doing so in a way that will make them lose the war. And here's one of the ways that I think will happen if it continues. Every time your team releases something they are not proud of, you damage morale. That causes the A players in your team to leave. Your B players, now without leadership from the A players, remember this is just people at a point in their career, it can often shift and change, but the B players, without leadership from the A's, maybe will trend more towards being the C's. And if you have so much content to ship, you're not really going to feel like you can afford to get rid of your C players for the sake of your team's overall quality and your talent density. And that's the real problem here. The simple fact is, people make games. You need to cultivate a good team. You need to cultivate talent. And that's why this video is focused actually on not bashing those people. It's about how can our positive human attributes plus bad systems lead to bad results. That's kind of what's happening here, I think. Weak design in the presence of bugs is not because of shit, lazy devs, or whatever other thing you could easily drop on a comment. No, I think it's because of realistic production problems, constraints, systems. So I suppose take this video as support for any person on Team 2 who is afraid to say what they think, to report it up the chain. I want all of you guys to thrive. I want World of Warcraft to thrive. And I know that a track record of listless design and subpar delivery will not help anyone thrive. Because at the end of the day, this is impacting players. It is impacting your credibility. It is your problem, even if it's not your fault. I guess my point is we're all working within the bounds of the systems, the structures that we are given. Try harder with more hope, more grit, more determination. How about rather than that, which clearly doesn't seem to be working, we try a different type of solution? Perhaps that means that minor patches are the same size but far more focused, such that each feature that does appear in a minor patch gets substantially more time in the oven. That seems like a good enough place to start. In terms of low-hanging fruit to cut from the game, do we really need a new Titan belt? Do we really need a seasonal turbo boost? Do we really need another set of catch-up gear that's competing with the catch-up gear we've already unlocked? It seems that a lot of this going fast to tick boxes and ship content is fighting itself, and that these hits are being taken for no good reason. And you know, the contrast between this video and yesterday's video, which is about the player housing feature, I think it actually does make a humongous point. You see, the player housing feature is basically making people think of the Blizzard Entertainment of 15-20 years ago, where their stuff came out unbelievably polished because it had time in the oven. So this team can cook up fairly amazing stuff. They can do great things. It's just that a combination of 8 weeks plus having to spin every plate within those 8 weeks, I think that is what's damaging them. Now, if you do want to have a cool feature to actually genuinely hope for in the future, watch this video next, because seriously, they have cooked far harder than I even hoped for with player housing.